Welcome to the debate. Today, we're delving into a culinary masterpiece that has truly captured palates globally, Vietnamese coffee with condensed milk, or as it's known, café sua. It's this brilliant synthesis of intensely strong dark roast coffee and an incredibly rich, sweet, creamy base.
It really is more than just a beverage. It's a global phenomenon. Its complexity in that powerful boldness have propelled it far beyond Southeast Asia. But what I find truly fascinating isn't just the taste, but how it's managed to scale well, keeping that distinct identity in the face of just massive international demand.
And that question of scale versus identity is precisely where our analysis begins. We're examining detailed guides on authentic Vietnamese coffee preparation. And the central disagreement for us today is this. Does the integrity and the unique sensory experience of Vietnamese coffee rest fundamentally on its traditional, ritualized preparation, specifically using the fin filter? Or is the resulting highly concentrated flavor profile the true marketable asset that allows for its successful adaptation into scalable commercial formats? I'm going to argue that the meticulous precision of the fin drip method is the non-negotiable foundation of this coffee's unique character.
And I'll be arguing that the inherent strength of that flavor profile, coupled with the genius of using shelf-stable components, makes this beverage incredibly adaptable and commercially viable through all sorts of high-volume formats. And that, ultimately, is the real engine of its global distribution success.
Well, my position, it rests entirely on the design and function of the fin. The essential nature of this coffee, its strength and its aroma, it lies in that slow, controlled extraction process. We're talking about a unique piece of equipment, a small metal filter with 4 specific parts: the lid, an inner press, the perforated chamber, and the base plate. The whole process is highly precise. The guides insist on a medium coarse grind, similar to what you'd use for a French press, and they specify a water temperature held rigidly between 195 and 205 degrees Fahrenheit.
Okay, but why is that level of detail necessary if the strength itself is the marketable component?
It's necessary because of the beans. Traditional Vietnamese coffee heavily uses the Robusta varietal, which is known for its high caffeine and, frankly, a strong, sometimes harsh flavor profile. The fin is designed to stick to a precise 3 to 7 minute drip time, with 5 minutes being the culinary ideal, because this controlled, slow process mitigates Robusta's natural tendency toward bitterness. This methodical extraction is what yields the characteristically strong and aromatic coffee that defines a cup without, tipping over into being acrid. And on top of that high concentration, 2 to 3 tablespoons of dark roast coffee for a small 6 to 8 ounce cup is required precisely because it perfectly counterbalances the intense, sweet, creamy richness from the condensed milk. You only get that signature smooth, velvety texture through this exact, controlled chemical balancing act.
You just can't bypass that slow, precise process and expect to keep that culinary integrity.
I see why you prioritize that traditional definition of integrity, but let me offer a different perspective, one that's driven more by market realities. The global success of Vietnamese coffee stems not from the 5-minute ritual itself, which is beautiful, I'll grant you that, but from the resultant intensity and the, frankly, brilliant foresight in using shelf-stable components. The dark roast coffee and the condensed milk are just inherently robust. The very fact that the brew has to be exceptionally strong to begin with is proof of its commercial adaptability. It has to be strong enough to withstand significant dilution, especially in café sua da, the iconic iced version. And the recipe guides themselves, they implicitly support my argument by acknowledging that this intense strength can be replicated. They offer alternatives, right? Like doubling the dose in a French press, using a mocha pot, adding 1 or 2 espresso shots, or, and this is critical, using pre-mixed cold brew concentrate steeped over 12 to 24 hours. This inherent adaptability, the fact that the flavor survives these non-traditional, high-volume brewing methods, is crucial for cafe chains, for retailers, and for global importers who demand consistent product sourcing and readily scalable formats. The flavor profile is it's strong enough to survive modernization and automation.
I'll concede that using a French press or an espresso machine might speed things up, but I have to push back hard on the idea that being genuine adaptability, because that is precisely where the integrity of the brew is compromised. Alternative, faster methods risk flavor degradation and, well, the introduction of unnecessary bitterness. The precision of the filtrant is what manages that Robusta challenge. Think about the inner press. It specifically controls the drip rate, aiming for a steady 3 to 4 drops per second. Now, why that specific rate? Because that measured pace is essential to get optimal, even extraction and to avoid scorching the grounds. If the water's too hot or the extraction is rushed, you just pull out all these harsh, bitter compounds that are inherent in that dark roast Robusta. And then, once the coffee finally drips, the proper stirring has to happen immediately to make sure the condensed milk doesn't form some sticky layer, guaranteeing that necessary transformation into that thick, caramel-colored drink. That critical transition from separate ingredients to a unified texture, it gets lost, or at least diminished when you rely on pre-batching or high-pressure machine extraction.
That's a highly compelling argument. It's focused on the singular perfect cup. Commercial consistency, especially at a global scale, often outweighs the meditative precision required for a single homebrew. The market just demands flexibility, and we already have overwhelming data that proves this. We're talking about FMCG products here, fast-moving consumer goods. The widespread availability of instant coffee formats, and we see major brands thriving globally with this, and canned, ready-to-drink coffee products, it demonstrates definitively that consumers worldwide are willing to trade that 5-minute meticulous drip ritual for instant gratification. They do this as long as the core characteristic, that signature strong and sweet taste profile, is maintained reliably. This acceptance of alternative, quick formats is precisely what enables high-volume wholesale distribution and market penetration. If the Vietnamese coffee flavor wasn't intrinsically robust enough to survive instant processing, these products simply wouldn't be commercially viable. They wouldn't be thriving globally. The durability of the flavor is the real asset.
I acknowledge the commercial viability of an instant approximation. But we're discussing authenticity and the unique character that drove the demand in the first place. That demand is built on a sensory experience. And this leads us directly to the non-negotiable component, the condensed milk. It has to be full-fat, sweetened condensed milk. Brands like Longevity are specifically mentioned. If you swap this for, say, unsweetened, evaporated milk, you fundamentally alter the character. You end up with a thinner beverage, and it lacks that luxurious, coating mouthfeel that is absolutely central to the experience. The high sugar and fat content of the milk isn't just about sweetness. It chemically interacts with the strong, often earthy notes of the Robusta, coating the bitterness and smoothing out the edges. The final thorough stirring transforms the density of the mixture into that necessary, thick, caramel-colored drink. That specific texture and palate coating quality is just as vital to the experience as the taste itself.
Right, but I come at the condensed milk component from a purely logistical and commercial perspective. While its historical origin came from necessity, in a climate that lacked reliable refrigeration, the choice of sweetened condensed milk now provides an immense commercial and logistical advantage that very few other specialty coffees have. I mean, look purely at the global supply chain. Unlike fresh dairy, condensed milk is completely shelf-stable. This radically simplifies logistics for global operations. You remove the entire cost and complexity of the cold chain. A global importer can ship raw materials using standard, cost-effective cargo freight instead of relying on expensive refrigerated containers. This drastically improves margins and simplifies storage and distribution in markets that might not even have a robust cold infrastructure.
The fact that the essential ingredient, the one that provides all that richness and balance, is inherently shelf-stable, well, it's an unparalleled gift to the wholesale and export market. It translates directly into lower operating costs and a much broader distribution reach.
But that commercial convenience still has to yield the necessary intensity to define the drink. Let's go back to Café Soledad, the iced version. The guides are adamant. The preparation requires special consideration, specifically because of the ice. The coffee base has to be intentionally stronger, often requiring 3 full tablespoons of grounds, just to compensate for the significant dilution that comes from melting ice. And think about the sensory experience here.
You're taking intensely hot coffee, extracted with meticulous patience, and pouring it directly over packed, dense, clear ice cubes. That intentional temperature contrast isn't just preparation, it's a key part of the flavor release. It delivers that immediate, shocking hit of cold, sweet intensity. And even with all that planning, timing matters. The drink has to be consumed quickly, within 10 to 15 minutes, for optimal balance before water dilution completely destroys that carefully crafted equilibrium.
This tight window proves how delicate that balance really is.
I'm not convinced fragility is the takeaway there. I actually think the requirement for that extreme strength is precisely why this coffee translates so exceptionally well to global export and large-scale B2B sales. The resulting high concentration is the export commodity. The concentration means that you need significantly less volume of concentrate or raw material to deliver a powerful flavor punch in the final product. This translates directly into cost efficiency, whether you're a local cafe chain making large batches of concentrate for your daily service, or a major manufacturer producing chilled, ready-to-drink formats. The higher the flavor concentration, the lower your material shipping costs are relative to the number of servings you can create. So when we talk about global buyers looking to source these raw materials in bulk at competitive prices, the emphasis shifts entirely to supply chain efficiency.
This is where organizations specializing in grocery wholesale and distribution from Vietnam become central. Companies like Asia Grocery Wholesale (AGW) are indispensable because they've optimized the complex logistics required to secure the necessary high volumes of both that specialized dark roast Robusta and the bulk condensed milk products. They're the ones bridging the gap between traditional Vietnamese agriculture and efficient global market demand, making that high concentration of commercial advantage not a culinary challenge.
While the high concentration undeniably lends itself to export, the soul of the beverage remains tied to the ritual that generates that unique flavor. If the fiend is skipped entirely, if that control over extraction is lost, you gain operational efficiency, yes, but you inevitably sacrifice the nuanced balance. The definition of authentic Vietnamese coffee is inextricably tied to the experience of watching that slow drip, of awaiting that thick, velvety result. That cultural storytelling, the patience, the precision, it's a crucial element of the consumer narrative, even if they only practice the ritual at home occasionally. It's what differentiates it from any other sweet, strong coffee. If we strip away the process entirely, we risk turning it into just another commodity flavor instead of a unique cultural offering.
The global market, however, overwhelmingly demonstrates that the signature taste profile, strong, sweet, and robust enough to stand up to melting ice, can be successfully decoupled from the 5-minute wait. The foundation for enduring market success is built on wholesale accessibility, efficient sourcing, and the viability of manufacturing scalable, ready-to-drink, and instant formats. The fact that highly effective alternative methods, like a strong cold brew concentrate, work just as well, proves that the required intensity is a function of dosing and the inherent properties of the ingredients, not solely the equipment. For the global consumer and the global buyer, the convenience of purchasing a reliable, consistently strong product, whether in bulk concentrate or as a fully manufactured FMCG item, drives massive adoption, far more effectively than the requirement of acquiring and mastering specialized brewing equipment. This success is built on the robust nature of the ingredients being compatible with industrial scale.
We have certainly illuminated two highly relevant and intersecting narratives contained within the preparation and distribution of this singular drink. While the commercial applications are vast and overwhelmingly efficient, a testament to the robustness of the flavor profile, I still maintain that the unique strength, sweetness, and signature velvety texture of Vietnamese coffee are best accessed and appreciated through the traditional, patient ritual of the fin filter. This method intrinsically reinforces its cultural identity and ensures optimal culinary precision.
And yet, the data shows that the beverage's massive global appeal is fundamentally driven by its inherent characteristics, its powerful, intense flavor, its perfect and practical integration with shelf-stable condensed milk, and its proven adaptability to high-volume brewing methods. This is what makes it a superior, fast-moving consumer good with powerful commercial viability, supported by the efficient wholesale sourcing and distribution channels necessary for rapid global market growth.
This debate ultimately shows that tradition informs commerce, and the meticulous pursuit of culinary perfection has yielded a flavor profile robust enough to not only withstand, but to actively conquer the global marketplace.
Indeed. And there is clearly more to explore in understanding how that ongoing balance between respecting culinary authenticity and achieving massive logistical efficiency will continue to define the future success of this iconic beverage.